Okay, what are you saying, people, and welcome back to another live stream. Now, before we get into this today, make sure you join me on my Telegram channel. Left a link to that in the live chat and also the description below. Posting different trading setups there throughout the week, so make sure you go check that out. Well, we're going to start with USD anyway, so we'll take a look at that now. Okay, so for Euro USD, again, expecting a move to the downside this week. If you guys haven't checked out my weekly analysis, make sure you go and do that. But yeah, expecting to see a move to the downside this week. Monday, pretty much will just be moving to the upside again, still treating that as retracement. Bias is still very much to the downside, and I don't expect to see the market start breaking through some key levels of structure. Again, really nice area of resistance there with that trend line, and it looks like the market has just pulled back into this area where we've got those wicks, as you can see, 1, 2, pull back into that, and we're now getting a bit of a bearish reaction. So potentially we could be seeing a continuation of that downwards trend, and yeah, see another leg to the downside, because again, targets for Euro USD this week is this support down here, which is 1.20500 area. Yeah, that's why I do see Euro USD going by the end of the week, potentially maybe even further depending how bearish it is. But I do see more downside for Euro USD. If I go on the hourly time frame, I had quite a nice reaction off that, but I wouldn't say it's confirmed just yet. That will come in down. We could still retrace a little bit further. We've got the trend line above us there. Price might want to go and test that before continuing to the downside. But we had quite a nice aggressive rejection of that area, and potentially could see price push through. So maybe if we do push through that, come back up for another lower high, then could look to take that down back to 1.20500, or maybe even further depending how bearish we get Euro USD. But I do see more downside coming for Euro USD. It's rejected the legitimate area, so yeah, potentially that downtrend could have started, and we could be seeing continuation back down to those lows. Hey Money Run, how are you doing? I hope you're having a good morning. Thanks again for joining the live stream. I suppose you're looking at GBP USD again. But yeah, so for Euro USD, I'm expecting more downside for this one. I wouldn't say it has officially started yet, because we're still technically above this trend line, still creating higher highs, higher lows here with this pullback. But I think it could be coming into fruition very, very soon, maybe later today. But yeah, I'm expecting to see more continuation to the downside for Euro USD. Take a look at some other USD pairs as well. GBP/USD, again expecting more downside for this one as well. Looks like this one's already taken off as we're speaking here. On the file you can see there hourly, very bearish close down the hourly, so price is rejecting this resistance here. Again in a bearish trend, resistance holds, support breaks, and you can see price has tried to break through this resistance 1, 2, 3 times. Failed to do that this morning, and we had a very, very strong close at 10 a.m. GMT, and now we're going to get the continuation over. So yeah, my bias was the downside coming into this week for GBP/USD. It does look like the market is slowly rolling over. You can see we were making higher highs, how now we're making lower highs, also lower lows here with these wicks. So it does look like price is running out of steam to the upside, and now starting to collapse to the downside. So I'm expecting GBP/USD to give us a move to the downside. Again, potentially back to this area here around the 1.0400 mark. If we can break through that, potentially go further. We've got this strong area of daily resistance, now daily support around the 1.4 area, which potentially I can see price going. As you can see, kind of getting that bowl shape there for GBP/USD. So I do see price moving to the downside, looking to retrace some of its bullish momentum that we saw over the past few weeks. As you can see, not too long ago we had this big jump to the upside. I'm pretty sure that happened on a Monday. We gapped open and then we gapped up. We opened and price took off to the upside very, very aggressively. So we could look to retrace some of that price action now with this bearish retracement. So yeah, biases to the downside for GBP/USD. Again, only looking for those pullbacks right now. Price is pushing to the downside back into this support. So I wouldn't say there's a good opportunity to get involved with GBP/USD if you haven't already. So yeah, waiting for some retracement, and then potentially could look to take this one lower back into 1.40400, and then if you can get a break through that back into 1.4 But either way, I'm seeing more downside for GPUSD. In fact, for a lot of these USD pairs, I'm seeing more downside. ADUSD, GPUSD, EURUSD, NZD-USD. Again, on the flip side, USD CAD expecting that to go up. USD JPY expecting that to go up because again, the USD is on the other side. But again, just expecting to see more strength for the US dollar this week and see some retracement for some of these pairs. Again, looking at USD CAD, you can see we're having that continuation as well. So yeah, it just looks like we're going to see a bit of US dollar strength this week and a bit of retracement after we've been trending to the downside so aggressively for USD CAD for the past few weeks now. If I go on the daily chart, you can see we're trending to the downside very correctively. Haven't had much momentum, and then recently we just collapsed to the downside. Now we're starting to get this bowl shape here for USD CAD. As you can see, lower lows, now higher lows. So I'm expecting to see a big push to the upside for price to retrace this big move down. So potentially could still see USD CAD fall to the downside eventually. But right now I think we're in retracement mode of this big collapse to the downside. So I'm expecting to see price move higher and just look to retrace some of that price action. Again, that's from a daily point of view. USD CAD, again, prior resistance now acting as support. Looks like we're holding that. So yeah, I'm expecting more upside. Again, targets will be this area here. Strong area of supply around the 1.23 area. That is where I do see USD CAD going. Also got this trend line involved there as well. So it'd be nice if it was to pull back into that trend line as well. But again, it doesn't have to. You could potentially just push to the upside from that area there as well. But yeah, bias for this week is to the upside for USD CAD unless we break underneath that support and underneath that trend line and start holding resistance. Then we could see more continuation to the downside. But right now, I don't see that happening. Hello, John. Welcome to the live stream. Thanks for joining. Again, guys, if you're looking at any pairs or you're currently in any trades, let me know, drop it in the live chat. We'll take a look at it together, see what pairs you're trading or what pairs you're looking to trade. Or if you're not sure about anything, just drop a chat and we'll talk about it. But yeah, if you guys got any eyes on any pairs, just let me know. We'll take a look at it together. We're going to take a look at some of the more of the USD pairs. Again, gold. Gold, again, bias was, well, still it is to the downside this week. We kind of just opened up on Monday and just continued that momentum from Friday last week, so it didn't really give me an opportunity to get involved in this. As you can see, we had a really nice test of this resistance here in the market. I believe we had a bit of a false breakout of this trend line here as well. So again, a bit of a false break, and then we broke back in. But nonetheless, again, bias was the downside, and then I believe we closed around there and closed the market around here. And then Monday we just collapsed to the downside even more. I was looking for a bit more retrace to get involved and then take it lower, but yeah, the market was far too bearish for that to happen. So overall, gold back at that 1860 area, very key level on the daily. I'll just go on the daily quickly. So you can see here, very key level of support, and now the market is testing it again. If we can get below it, I think we can go to that 1840, maybe even 1830 or even 1820 area, which is basically this previous support here. So potentially could see price going that if we can get below 1860, and for that to happen, you need a daily close underneath to confirm that momentum, because right now you can see past couple of days we've got wicks into this level and price hasn't quite managed to follow through that. But right now my bias is still to the downside, so I'm not really going to look for buys, even though I do think we can see a bit more retrace for gold. But I don't think I'll look to buy it, probably look to short it after that retrace has finished, and then look to take it lower from that, because it does look like we've got a bit of a bearish market now for gold. So not really too keen in buys, and if I do, probably not going to hold it on for very long. Yeah, sure, we'll take a look at pound JPY now. Okay, so GBJPY looking bearish as well. Again, my bias was the downside again this week for GBJPY, so I'm still going to hold that bias, still expecting more downside. Again, we do have a key level of resistance here in the market, which the price tried to get through yesterday. However, again, strong close this morning. The 4H is confirming price has failed to do so. And as you can see, we really do have a shift in momentum from bulls to bears. So I'm expecting more downside for pound JPY this week. Again, if I go back to the 4H, you can see we do have these lower highs here in the market, and potentially that is another lower high, and we could see a continuation to the downside. Again, my target was that 154 area, which we haven't quite tested yet, so that is where I'm expecting price to go and test that 154. And from there, potentially might see a reversal and a continuation of that daily bullish trend, or we could be seeing a bigger retracement and see price start to take a breather after that big bullish run that we've had for GBJPY over the past few weeks. So that potentially could be happening, but again, we'll call that when that happens. But yeah, for pound JPY, I'm looking for more downside for this pair. I believe we had a bit of a false break of this trend line again, so similar to gold. Nice trend line here in the market, 1, 2, 3, 4. Went up to go and test it, broke above, but then strong close back below it, and now we're seeing that momentum continue. So again, if I was to change my bias, I probably want to see price come above that trend line again, back above that support and resistance, and hold it as support to confirm that we've changed structure, and then again respect the higher high after that. But as long as that doesn't happen, my bias is to the downside for pound JPY for this week. I think we can go and hit 154 and maybe even past that, depending how bearish we see the pound. But it looks like GBP/USD is on its way down, so if that's going to happen, I do expect to see pound JPY follow as well, because they do correlate quite well. So yeah, my bias is the downside for pound JPY and also pound USD as well, which we just went over. And you can see we do have a bit of a bearish market here. Market is starting to make lower lows, lower highs. Technically it's still sideways, but it does look like it's turning bearish. So I'm expecting to see a push back into 1.4, but first target is this area here, which is around that 1.40400 area. But yeah, biases to the downside for pound JPY and pound USD. Going to take a look at AUD USD. So again, some more of the USD pairs. Again, so AUD USD, again, bias to the downside as well for this pair. You can see still with this one, we do have a bearish trend here. Again, the market is still very sideways, but it's starting to break to the downside. You can see we are making these lower highs here in the market, a bit of a false break there, that trend line. But we are making these lower highs and also making these lower lows as well. So I'm expecting to see AUD/USD continue to the downside. Like I said on my not live stream, my weekly analysis video, we'd like to see a bit more retrace from this pair before getting involved. But I do see price falling to the downside. Of course, it doesn't have to do that retracement. It can fall to the downside if it wants to. But personally, to get involved, I like to see a bit more retracement. And if that does happen, I'll expect to see AUD/USD back at this daily support area around the 0.76 area, because right now we're stalling at 0.77, and if you break through that, I do expect to see the market go to the next key psychological level, which is around the 0.76 area, which does line up with this support. So that's essentially where I do see price going for this week, or maybe even next week as well, depending how long it takes. But I do see the market fall to the downside. Again, the only way I'll change my bias if we do get back above this area, start holding a support and create some higher highs. But right now I'm struggling to see price go and do that. So expecting more to the downside for AUD/USD. But yeah, I want to see a bit more retracement to get involved. And again, first target would be actually this low here, because price could bounce from that and continue higher. Yeah, price could bounce from that and continue higher, but overall looking for more downside for AUD/USD. And if that does happen, price might start to turn bearish, and we could actually see the start of potentially maybe a bearish trend in this market. And start to see a lot more US dollar strength, because again, as the USD is quite similar to AUD/USD as well. And if that does happen, then I do expect to see both those pairs trend to the downside quite strongly, and actually see potentially a reversal for this long bullish trend that we've had for the past few months now. and start to see a bit of a bearish trend in the market. Yeah, sure, take a look at copper. Actually, I've never actually looked at copper before, to be fair. What's what is copper called? Because I've actually never looked at it before. Yeah, if you could give me the title of copper, I'll take a look at it. But yeah, I've actually never looked at that before. That was the first time looking at copper. But in the meantime, we'll take a look at NZD/USD. So yeah, for that one, again, expecting more downside. We'll come to a key area of support. So for that one, it is a little bit tricky, not as much as AUD/USD. But yeah, I'm expecting more downside for this. We might see a bit more retracement and then price fall to the downside. But again, for AUD/USD and NZD/USD, they tend to move quite similar, and again, I do expect to see them kind of correlate to the downside again this week. Even though price has had a hard time breaking through that support, I do see that support getting broken eventually. Just copper, okay. Is it copper futures? Oh, it's the top one. So would it be this one? Is it this one? Okay, sweet. So yeah, we'll take a look at this one for you. Okay, so market is trending to the downside. We've recently seen a nice drop there, breaking these lows. So the market is currently quite bearish here. I'll actually start on the daily. Okay, overall, currently still in an uptrend. Price is coming back to that previous structural area, higher high, so potentially could see a bit of a reaction from there, but as you can see on the current day, we are very bearish. But then again, we still do have, says that eight and a half hours before we do close, so we could pull back up. But I would say for an opportunity for this one, because again, the daily trend is still to the upside, however 4 hour push into the downside. It would be nice to see a nice big push up, create some high past that point, pull back, then look to continue that higher. But depending if you're trading the short-term area, then potentially you could wait for a bit of a pullback and then catch a ride off that area there, because potentially could see that downtrend continue a little bit more. But again, I'll wait for the daily close, because we're closing into a structural area where price might have a bounce or might not, because again, if the market does hold this area, which it kind of was doing, and this confirms the break of it, so if it does hold this area, I do expect to see more upside there from this market. But if you do get close below, it's telling us that price failed to sustain that support, and now it will be acting as resistance. So that pullback into that price support term resistance does look more attractive there. So if you were to pull back, hold underneath that level, then could look to ride that down. But if you do get back above it and this was just a false break, I'll probably wait for price to push up, give you a really nice big push, come back down, and then look to take that higher, potentially a bit of a kind of a head and shoulders there if that was the form, and take that higher. But of course need a lot more development for that to happen. But like I said, if we do get a nice strong close there on the daily below that point, then it kind of confirms that break and that support didn't hold. So therefore I'd wait for price to retrace back into this area, see if you can get some nice rejections, and see if you can get a nice drop from that area, probably on that hourly time frame or maybe the 30 minutes. So that's a nice potential opportunity there, just continue that bearish market, and since we have a strong close below that level. But yeah, I'll probably wait for a daily close to kind of confirm that break, just in case we see the next 4H candle come up and catch you on the wrong side there. But that is probably what I'm more leaning towards there for this market. So I hope that analysis helped. Yeah, sure, we'll take a look at US 30. Okay, so if US 30 was starting to trend to the downside here, for this one a little bit, not really aggressively. We're coming back into this key area of support, however, and I think potentially if the market was to turn bullish again, it would be from this area, and then see the market push to the upside a bit more aggressively. But yeah, very key level. If we were to break through this, then I could see the market going a lot further. But again, US 30 is still very much an uptrend overall in the higher time frames of the daily. 4 hour, we are bearish here. You can see the market is pushing to the downside there on the hourly as well. So potentially probably see price roll back over again, back into this support, but I wouldn't hold a trade past this support unless we had a strong confirmed break on the 4 hour, just a strong close below. But you could look to ride that down maybe in the lower time frames, depending what time frame you're trading the US 30 on. But I do see price rolling back over into this area. But then if you do get a strong reaction from this area, breaking through some of these structural levels here in the market, so creating higher highs past these levels, then it is going to be indicating that we could potentially be turning around from this bearish trend here in the market and then continue bullish on the higher time frames, because this is kind of like the last major higher low. So if you break past that, it essentially breaks through structure, breaks the trend. But if you do keep hold of this level, then I do see more upside. And again, I do think US 30 potentially could be testing these highs up there if it does hold this level intact. If it doesn't, then I'll probably see the market push back into this area here. So again, kind of a crucial level, depending if price wants to break or hold it. So far, it is holding that area. But like I said, again, looking at that hourly time frame, it looks like price wants to roll back over to come and test it. And if you see a strong rejection to the upside, it's going to indicate that price is definitely going to hold it. Well, not definitely, but more likely than not will hold onto that level. And then you can have that bullish bias and look to ride it back to 3,500. No, 35,000, and then if you break through that, then you can look to ride it back down to that support there in the 4H. But it all depends if price wants to hold into that level or not. And again, I'll probably just be a little bit patient, see what happens with the hourly time frame if you do roll over and if you do hold it, or if you do roll over and break through it, and then you can change the price to bearish and capitalize on a nice drop to the downside. But need a bit more development there for US 30 for me to figure out whether that level will hold or not. And if it does, could look for buys and target the highs up there. Or again, depending on what time frame, don't have to target all the way up there, can target levels before that. But that's why I do expect to see price to go if it does follow structure. Morning, David. Yeah, sure, we'll take a look at AUD, AUD USD and USD CAD. So yeah, AUD/USD, again, like before, I suspected more downside this week for this pair. Again, the market has seen a really nice drop here, and the market has a bit retraced, and now looks like potentially it could continue further. Again, I did say I wanted to see a bit more retracement for this pair, but it looks like we might not get that. because again, previous support here is now term resistance, and we've seen the market reject that quite aggressively. So there's a good chance we could just fall to the downside. And again, first target will be 0.76500, and then 0.76, which is this daily support down there. Again, you can see it acting as support, gave us this big move to the upside, but that is where I do see AUSD falling to. Again, you can see we've got this bearish structure, price making lower lows, lower highs now. Unless we get back above this whole structure and create higher highs, then I'll change my bias. But as long as we stay kind of below this trend line, we could pull back into there and then continue, or pull back into the trend line, then continue, and I'll still have that bearish bias of price coming back down to 0.76. But again, the structure here looks quite bearish. We've had this big drop. I was wanting to see a bit more retrace. However, it doesn't look like we've got that, and it looks like the market will fall to the downside. So maybe on the lower time frames, like the hourly, if you do get a bit of retrace, could look to take advantage of that and look to ride it back down to this 0.76500 area. That's the first target. Then a break of that, we'll look to target 0.76 down there. But the bias for AUSD is to the downside. And I'm expecting the market to be at that 0.76, potentially, depending how bearish we are. If we get some momentum like we saw here, potentially by the end of the week, we're at 0.76 is where I'm seeing AUSD go to. USD CAD as well. Again, I'm expecting to see a lot more US dollar strength coming into this week. So with that the case, I do expect to see USD CAD going to the upside with that US dollar strength. You can see we have that previous resistance now turn support, and again my target is 1.23 for USD CAD. Again, I did say for this one it would be nice to see a bit more retracement into this trend line. However, again, this is a legitimate resistance here, and if it does flip as support, which it is currently doing, I do expect to see a big push to the upside for USD CAD. And if that does last into 1.23, into that resistance up there. But yeah, USD CAD is looking quite bullish. It really looks like it's pushing to the upside anyway. So again, a bit of retracement, maybe on the lower time frames like the hourly, could look to take advantage of that. A bit of retrace like this, and then look to take it higher, maybe a double bottom or something. And then yeah, my bias is to the upside, looking for that USD CAD to reach that 1.23 area, which again, if I go to the daily, you can see strong area of supply. So that is where I'm expecting price to end up for USD CAD, potentially again, if you do see that US dollar strength come in by the end of the week. Yeah, we'll take a look at Euro USD now. So Euro USD again, bias is to the downside for this one. Expecting to see a push back down into this support 1.2500 key area of support, and then if you can break that 1.2 on the dot, which is this support all the way down here, depending how bearish we are. But yeah, first target 1.20500, and then second 1.2, and it's looking like price is rejecting this area here in the 4H. You can see nice wicks into this area. We've wicked into it again now as resistance. If I go into the hourly, you can see really nice rejection off it. Again, for this one, the break of the trend line could be the confirmation that we're moving lower, because again, technically we could still hold that trend line and push to the upside and create some higher highs. So again, I wouldn't short this just yet, but as it is indicating that shorts could be potentially coming up. So maybe a break of that, another lower high, and then look to take that to the downside. Again, first target 1.20500. and the second 1.2 all the way down there. But yeah, bias is to the downside for Euro USD. Again, the only way to change that is maybe a break of this trend line and start creating some higher highs, but I'm expecting to see Euro USD push to the downside there and look to see if you can get to this support and then potentially that support as well for Euro USD. And as you can see as well, we are making these lower highs here in the market, potentially there as well, and I'm expecting to see another lower low. Currently I'm not in any pairs. I did take a Euro CAD short trade, however that trade has failed. So again, I was short on Euro CAD, looking for a move to the downside here on the hourly time frame from this level here yesterday on Monday. Caught it from around there, did see a nice drop, however as you can see it has turned around and has stopped me out at break even there. So I was looking for a continuation back down to this area of support. Was quite high probability trade there, but as you can see, EuroCAD decided not to and shot to the upside. So yeah, that one's break even. Potentially could actually see EuroCAD continue to the upside a lot more if it does start taking out some key levels. But yeah, I was in this EuroCAD trade on Monday. Right now I've got my eyes on Euro USD, so like I was just analyzing before, see if you can get a nice move to the downside. I want to see if you can get a better break of that trend line on the hourly, get a nice lower high formation, and then look to take that down. So this is one I've got my eyes on. I also have my eyes, well, I still do have my eyes on AUD USD, but this one looks like potentially have missed the opportunity for this trade because it is quite bearish. Again, I'm going to wait for a pullback because I was looking for a deeper retracement, but right now it looks like it might fall to the downside without me, so I'm going to wait for a bit more retracement first. I'm not going to just jump into a short right now because it could retrace all the way back up, so I want to see a bit of retracement and then I'll look to short this one down. But yeah, looking for AUD USD shorts and Euro USD shorts this week into this support first target and then 0.76. GPAUD, you have not looked at that one yet, so we'll take a look now. Okay, so GPAUD 1.84313. Okay, so around that resistance there, so that does make sense there for AUD. Again, AUD, look on the daily time frame, is at a very key level of resistance. I just clear the market. So again, you can see really key resistance here, 1, 2, 3, 4, slight false break of it, and now we're back at that same area again. And I do expect to see a reaction from this level, just because again, you can see we are making lower lows here in the market. We are starting to make higher lows here, but I do expect to see a reaction, not necessarily the market break the whole trend and continue to the downside, but a bit more of a reaction here from this level, maybe back to 1.8, and then we potentially could go break it. But yeah, it is a very, very key level, and I do expect to see a bit more of a bearish reaction from that level. As you can see, we've seen some nice injections of bearish momentum. So since we're having a hard time pushing it up, I reckon when we do get there, we could see a nice push to the downside and maybe see a push back to 1.8, depending if we can get that momentum there in the markets. But it does look good for potential shorts for GPAUD from that area. As long as we don't go and break it and start holding a support, I do see GPAUD falling to the downside again from that area, and maybe even further, depending if you can see some weakness for the pound. Okay, yeah, sure. I will start showing the analysis to help you guys out, see what kind of trades that are in the channel, so I give you a better picture of what you're trading and also potentially targets as well. But no problem. Oh yeah, and pound JPY. So again, like I said, for this one, I'm expecting a move to the downside. Again, this pair is making lower highs in the market. Technically, it did push up, tried to make a higher high above that, but again, because it's still holding onto that resistance and still holding to that trend line, treating that as a false breakout. I'm still going to treat that as potentially another lower high and a move lower. So a bias is to the downside for pound JPY this week, expecting a move back down to 154. We didn't quite reach it last week, as you can see, we came quite close, but I do expect to see that 154 reached this week if we do see that momentum like we saw last week. Again, I'll change my bias if the market was to push up and get above that trend line again and start holding as support. Same with that resistance, start holding as support. Then I'll change my bias, and I do expect to see pound JPY back at these highs here. But right now, I'm just going to follow this structure here. and look for another swing to the downside. But I will change my bias if we get back above that trend line and start holding as support, because right now it looks like when we did get above that momentum coming back down, just showing us signs that that was a false breakout, catching people on the wrong side, and now we might be seeing the momentum continue to the downside from that false break. So yeah, bias is to the downside for pound JPY here, and looking for a push back into support. Next, we're going to take a look at USD/JPY. So USD/JPY again still pushing to the upside. Again, was expecting to see a push to the upside this week. We're holding onto this support, tried to break it a few times, however failed to do so. Again, for this one I was looking for a bit more retrace, but this week it just hasn't happened. And as you can see, we had a bit of consolidation and then price just broke out to the upside. So USD/JPY looking quite bullish now, coming into some resistance and a strong area of supply as well. So we might see a bit of retracement come into the market now. Might see a push into there since we are losing momentum as well. We can see the size of those candles. Might see a bit more retracement, then maybe a push higher, or a bit of consolidation in fact between these two levels here, or resistance and support. But again, we'll cross that bridge when it does happen, because again, that hasn't even happened yet. But yeah, USD/JPY is looking bullish. Potentially could see price back at these highs here, which I can actually see because we do have these higher highs, higher lows, and so far all that structure is still intact. So I don't see why not. We can push back to those highs. So potentially, if we do actually move back down to this support from that supply there, could be a really nice buy and look to take that higher. There for USD/JPY, anticipating a higher high back at that daily resistance, and maybe even potentially a bigger push after that and create some higher highs from that, because again, you can see if I go on the higher time frames, the daily, we do have quite a big uptrend here, so we could just be seeing a continuation of that uptrend, and maybe even see 112 hit if we do continue this uptrend. But right now, USD/JPY is looking bullish. Again, could be seeing a push to the downside, so potentially could look for sells here. But again, if you do, I wouldn't hold on it for too long, because I think the market could turn bullish again and create some higher highs after that. Yeah, US30. Again, so for this one, we're just talking about it earlier. Again, you can see we do have a bullish trend here in the market overall. So push, pullback, push, pullback, push, and now we'll pull back into that same area of support, which is our former higher low. So again, this is a very, very key level, depending if price wants to break it or not. Will determine my bias for US30. If we do hold into this area, I do expect to see a higher high and a push back up to 35,000, which was our previous high up there. But if we do take out this level, I do expect to see a bit of bearish momentum come into the markets and then push back down into this prior low here in the market. But right now, if I go on the hourly, we are kind of bearish here, so I do expect the market to roll over back down to this support. But like I said before, if we do see a strong break of some key levels, so if we push back down into this area and we see a strong break of certain key levels, then it shows that the market is holding the support. So on the retrace, let's get involved in this pair. And again, I will be targeting, well, I won't be targeting because I don't really trade this pair, but if you are looking to target that 35,000 mark up there, because again, this is the higher low. So if the market does keep that intact, technically the structure is still bullish and we can expect to see a continuation of this trend. But like I said, if it does break through the market or break through this support in the market, then we'll change that structure to bearish, and then I do expect to see a test of this prior support down there around the 33,700 mark. So it all depends if price wants to hold this level or not. So far we've had a nice reaction from it, but again, the market is still kind of bearish on the hourly, so this potentially could be another lower high and we see the market roll over again. But if it does hold this on the second attempt and see a strong reaction like we did here, very strong bullish candle, if we do see something like that again, it probably shows to me that we're holding it and could look for continuation higher. So yeah, that is what I'm favoring for US30. But again, just keep an eye on price action in this level, see if you can get another retest there on the hourly, and then see what happens with price action if we do get a strong reaction. and a strong change of momentums, or we just fall through. Because if we do fall through, then I think this is the next stop for US30. But if it doesn't, then I see a continuation back to the highs at 35k. Yeah, sure, David will show those entries, so I'll do like screenshots of the trades as well, so you can see the setup of it as well. So I'll give you guys the start and the end target of the trade and the analysis behind it as well, so you understand why I'm trading, or if you guys are going to take the trades as well, why you're trading it as well. So hopefully that will allow you to learn a little bit more as well. So yeah, no problem for that. We'll take a look at some of the other JPY pairs. So Euro JPY for this one, we've had a big push to the upside here. So for Euro JPY, I wasn't too sure if we're going to get a reversal or not for this pair. I was expecting to see it move to the downside because again was favouring this kind of head and shoulders here. So again, there's the head, well, there's a shoulder, head, and then shoulder. We fell to the downside, create a new low past that point. However, I wasn't sure if this was just going to be a reversal or just price retracing a little bit more. Because again, if you look at the higher time frames like the daily, again, the market is still aggressively very bullish here. We've been pushing to the upside very strongly. So again, I wouldn't get too overly confident on any reversals for Euro JPY, simply because the market is still very bullish on the higher time frames, daily, weekly, and monthly. So taking reversals for Euro JPY for me is not really a good idea, unless we get very clear price action. But for now, you can see Euro JPY had a big push to the upside. It is coming back into this resistance here, while I'm expecting to see some type of reaction to the downside, whether it's a small reaction or a big reaction potentially back to these lows. I'm expecting to see some reaction, because you can see if you just follow the structure of the market, got this high, new low, high, new low. So if it's pushed back to that resistance, I'm expecting to see some reaction to the downside. Whether it forms a new low or not will kind of give us the idea whether Euro JPY wants to reverse or continue bullish. And if we do see just a slight pullback and the market starts forming a higher low, then I think that is the sign that Euro JPY wants to come back to these highs all the way up here and potentially just create some new highs and continue with that bullish trend. But if it doesn't and we see a strong reaction to the downside, the price actually reaches back down at this support, I'll probably say, yeah, we could be seeing a bit more bearish momentum in this market, wait for a bit of a pullback and look to take a lower low. But yeah, still waiting for that clarity there for Euro JPY. But nonetheless, I'm expecting to see some type of reaction from this resistance here in the market. And as you can see, a strong reaction as well we had previously. So it shows that there is a lot of supply from this level. So yeah, we can expect to see some retracement. And in fact, the market is due a retracement there on the hourly anyway. So short-term sells for Euro JPY potentially, but again, I'm not going to take it just because I want a bit more clarity of where Euro JPY could be ending up before I enter a trade. CAD JPY, again for this one looking quite bearish. I did say for this one more downside for CAD JPY this week. Again, strong area of support, 89,900 stroke 90 area. Again, price to pull back into this area of the market. Really nice resistance here, was acting as support, resistance not too long ago, and now resistance again. So I do expect to see a move back down into this area for CAD JPY. If you get back above this area and start holding as support, might look to change my bias, but as of yet, you can see that big change of momentum there. So I do expect to see more downside for CAD JPY. So on a bit of retrace on the lower time frames, hour, 30-minute, 50-minute, could look to see if you can get some shorts in back down to this support. I think the risk to reward would be quite attractive there as well. But more downside for CAD JPY unless you get back above it. But again, you can see the nice change of momentum. That does not look like it's happening. So a bit of retracement and then downside for CAD JPY is what I'm expecting for this pair. So overall, it's looking like we're seeing some strength in the yen. So that might mean that Euro JPY could go a little bit further. but nonetheless we do have a strong euro, so that is affecting it. But I do think Euro JPY could be seeing some more downside. Again, pound JPY expecting more downside for this pair as well. Only reason I'll change my bias if we get back above this trend line and hold that resistance as support, but right now it's not. I'm expecting to see a push back down to 154 for pound JPY. Next, if we take a look at some more of the euro pairs, so again, take a look at Euro GBP. So for this pair, a little bit all over the place, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm expecting this support to break this week. Again, it's still Tuesday, so I'm still going to hold that bias for that support to break. Maybe not this week, could be next week now. But yeah, as long as we stay underneath this level, 0.86400, I'm expecting to see another move back into that same support. So if we do claw our way back up to this level, I will be looking for shorts back into this support. Then potentially we could see the breakout. But yeah, Euro GBP for me is just a little bit choppy and probably not the best pair to look to trade at this moment in time. There are definitely clearer pairs out there. But if you are looking to trade Euro GBP, potentially you could be looking for some shorts around this area, create another lower high. So you can see here, there's a high, lower high, potentially another lower high, and then get price to roll over to the downside again. But like I said, Euro GBP a little bit messy, so I think I'll probably be staying away from this pair this week anyway. GB CAD, again, another pair I'm staying away from this week. Again, price action for me is just a little bit all over the shop. You can see really nice area of support and resistance, and the market is fluctuating between these two levels. But even though the market is at resistance, I still don't want to sell it, just because there's so many areas of support here where the market might fall to downside a little bit, find support, get rejected, and continue to the upside anyway. So yeah, I'm not interested in trading GB CAD. Like I said, my weekly analysis, if you haven't go and check that out, make sure you go check that out. If we have a big push to the upside and a big push back down, give me a nice, strong, obvious false breakout, then that might attract me there, and then I could get involved on the retest of that and then look to trade it down. But I think for me, that's the only way I'll look to trade this pair, because that false breakout means a lot of orders will be cleared, and then we can see a bit of momentum to the downside. But as you can see, there's no momentum in this market whatsoever. So yeah, we'll be staying away from GB CAD for probably the rest of the week, and then we'll reevaluate it again on the weekend, see if we can get some nice opportunities next week. But for me, we'll be staying away from that pair. Next, we'll take a look at some of the AUD pairs. So AUD-JPY, this pair, again, for this, still a little bit choppy. Not as bad as GB CAD, but again, still a little bit choppy. Was looking for a move to the downside last week. However, as you can see, we got a bit of manipulation first of this key level of resistance here. Bit of manipulation, 1, 2, and then the follow through. But again, my bias is still to the downside, so could actually be seeing another opportunity for that follow through again, back down to this support here, 84. Back down to this support, and maybe a bit more, depending if we can get a bit of a reversal for AUD-JPY. But I do see more downside for this pair, and potentially could actually see 83 as well if we do get a reversal. But AUD-JPY on biases to the downside unless we clear 85-100, which is this resistance. And then if we do that, I'm expecting price to push back to these highs all the way up here. But only if we clear that resistance. USD-JPY, sure. Okay, so USD-JPY, this one is still bullish, like I said. Like I said on my weekly analysis, more upside for this pair. They want to see a bit more retrace. However, we did not get that. Price is kind of consolidated for a little bit and then had a big impulsive move to the upside. We're coming to a very strong area of supply, stroke resistance. You can see here, nice, well, a big change of momentum. to the downside there. Very strong bearish candles. I believe that was NFP, so I'm actually going to be expecting to see a move to the downside for USDJPY. If we do make our way all the way back down to the support, I will be looking for buys, because again, I do still have that bias to the upside for USDJPY here. You can see on the daily, the overall trend is very much to the upside, and recent structure as well. Push, pullback, push, pullback, push, pullback, push. So if we do see a move to the downside, it's most likely going to be pullback, unless we do have a break of structure or maybe a break of this bullish trend. As long as we don't, I'm expecting more downside. I do see the price pushing back to 110,800, which is this resistance, and maybe even a higher high if the market does stay bullish. But yeah, bias overall is to the upside, but coming to this area, I think USDJPY can see a bit of a reaction to the downside, maybe giving us a higher low and then the continuation up, which I will look to try and get involved in after that retrace. But sells do look good here for USDJPY. Strong area where you do expect to see a shift from bulls to bears, but like I said before, I'll probably, if I was looking to take that trade, I wouldn't look to hold on it for too long, because I think the momentum is the upside in the higher time frames. So I'll probably be going against the grain a little bit. So USDJPY shorts do look good, but I wouldn't hold on it for too long, just in case the price turns against me. Would rather look to buy it than sell it. USD-CHF, again another USD pair, again expecting to see US dollar strength come into the markets this week. So if that is true, then we should see USD-CHF push the upside and start giving us a bit more of a reason to believe in this pair that it could turn bullish. You can see USDJPY overall, it's a very choppy pair, but has been giving some really clean lower lows, lower highs, structural levels, and good. If you're following the trend, this pair has been really good for the past few weeks now. But I do think potentially could be in for a bit of a reversal potentially. As you can see, the market is starting to find a little bit of a bottom here. Test it once, nice strong reaction, come back down, nice strong reaction as well. So it looks like that support is holding, and if we are seeing that USD strength come into the market, I do expect to see USD CHF back at this resistance here, potentially higher highs, but again not going to be too overly confident. And yeah, I'm favouring USD CHF to the upside. It does look like the market has found a bit of resistance here. As you can see, strong close there. Well, not strong close, because we did pull back almost half the candle, but we did have a strong push to the downside there at 10 a.m. But because of that wick, and again, strength in the US dollar, the fact that we're not breaking these lows here, and the fact that other USD pairs like EURUSD, AUDUSD, GPUSD look like they could be falling to the downside, I'm expecting to see USD CHF follow those pairs and see it a push to the upside. So an opportunity for this pair, if we're to break, come back and retest, hold as support, and that could be a really nice buy there. Buying at support is obviously a good idea. Obviously this is quite bearish here, big shift in momentum, so potentially could see price actually fall to the downside a little bit more and then push up. So that's why I'm not going to blindly just buy USD-CHF, because I do have that bias. So wait for a break and then could look to get involved there. But if anything, if we were to fall to the downside again, another opportunity to buy, but I would probably wait for the price to get nice confirmation above that, hold it as support, and then the continuation higher back into that resistance. And again, targets will be this resistance here, clear resistance there twice, and I do expect to see price going to hit it a third time. Whether we get a break of this resistance or not too sure. If we do get a break, probably see a bit of a reversal of this daily trend here and see a bigger push to the upside. But like I said, not going to be too overly confident and aggressive with that. But yeah, USD-CHF biases to the upside this week. Expecting to see the market back at 0.90500 by the end of the week, and if you can get a break and retest on that, could be a nice opportunity there to go long. ADC Chef, again, still bearish for this pair. Again, this pair I have not traded in a long time. You can see price action here is, in my opinion, very bad. Well, it is clear downtrend here, clear lower highs, lower lows, but for me, it's just too choppy. You can see the price action here moving sideways for pretty much 2 or 3 weeks there before seeing any momentum in the markets. Then again, that momentum is short-lived anyway. So yeah, I haven't traded this pair in a long time. You can see recently, I think we just made some new lows below that previous low there. So the market is still very bearish here. And again, looking for buys, probably have a hard time unless you're looking for short-term buys, which potentially that could be good because it's very choppy. Means that we do see nice short-term swings on the lower time frames, but again, not really looking to get involved. A bit of retracement and the continuation lower is what I'm seeing for this pair, but again, not looking to get involved here. And you can see there on the daily overall stalwart bearish trend there, so don't really want to be going against that since how choppy and strong it is. AD CAD, again, another AD pair. Recently had a nice big push to the upside, a lot of momentum coming to the markets there. However, we've failed to see a continuation of that yet or at all. Price is still kind of moving sideways here, so it depends where price wants to go. If we do see a break of this to the upside, then potentially we'll probably see not reversal, but maybe a deeper retracement for this pair, because again, strong bearish trend we've been in for the past few weeks now, so potentially could break through that and then see the continuation higher. Or if you do break to the downside, then we'll probably just see a continuation of that bearish trend. And again, if that does happen, wait for the retest, and we could see price back at these lows all the way down there for AD CAD. But right now, I wouldn't touch it in that area, just because again, the clarity is not overly good, and price hasn't really shown any decisiveness of where it wants to go. We've seen some nice wicks to the downside and wicks to the upside, so again, there's no real clue there, in my opinion anyway, to show where price wants to go. We just have to wait for the break and the retest to get that confirmation. Next, going to take a look at ADNZD. Again, for this pair, expecting a move to the downside this week. Again, you can see recently we had a big push to the upside, but I do still see further downside for ADNZD. If I go in the full H, you can see we push back into this recent area of resistance, 1, 2, 3, 4, now 5th time. And if we do hold that, I do see price back at this support here potentially. Again, ADNZD does take time when it moves, so it might not be for a week or two we see price back at that support, but I do see some nice opportunities for sales if you could have a nice retracement, maybe a double top, and then could take that lower. Again, you don't have to target these lows all the way down here, but that's where I do see price going for the AUDNZD over the next week or two potentially. But yeah, I do expect to see AUDNZD roll over and see some more downside momentum for this pair finally after pushing to the upside for a few weeks there. If I look at the DXY, we haven't looked at the DXY yet for some time now. It looks like we're starting to push to the upside again, similar to Euro USD. Again, inversely correlated, coming into that previous higher high there. As you can see, push, pullback, push. I do expect to see the market go make a higher high, a bigger push. This resistance here is probably the next target for it, which is around the 9800 level, and a break of that probably targets this area of supply, which is 91300. But yeah, more upside for the DXY. As you can see, we're starting to get higher lows here in the market, so potentially could see another one, maybe a bit more retracement and then the continuation. But yeah, I'm looking for more upside for the DXY, which means again Euro USD should be falling if the DXY goes up, which again is why I'm looking for those shorts for Euro USD, which still haven't happened yet. You can see we kind of closed out that trend line, so not looking to sell into that trend line. We'd rather see the break, the pullback, and then the continuation. And 1.20500 will be my first target, and then next 1.2. So yeah, looking for those shorts for Euro USD, but again, haven't quite happened yet. Oh, so money run, you're looking to trade Euro USD, something other than GP USD finally? Or are you still looking at GP USD and you're just talking about the DXY? But yeah, Euro USD, looking for those sells. And actually GP USD, I was looking for sells as well, but kind of pushed on without me, so I want to see a bit more retracement for this pair. Again, held into that resistance. 1, 2, 3, bit of a triple top there, and the market is looking quite bearish. So yeah, I want to see a bit more retracement now for GPUSD, and then look to get involved in the push back down to 1.40400, and then potentially 1.4 on the dot. But yeah, more downside for GPUSD, but again, no clear entries for me just yet. Okay, nice, pound JPY, yeah, expecting more downside for this pair as well. Like I said, I can see price pushing back down to 154. We've had a bit of a false breakout of this trend line. So I'm treating that as a false break, and then you can see the continuation to the downside. We've also held into that resistance as well. So yeah, looks like a good short there for pound JPY. And yeah, I do see price pushing to the downside for this pair, so it does look like a good trade. Probably could hold into that one maybe for a couple of days or so, and it could actually see price back up 154. But again, you know, you trade your plan, exit where you should be exiting, but I can see price pushing to those lows. Yeah, so currently waiting on Euro USD, so you can get a nice opportunity there. And AUD USD, want to see a bit more retracement for this pair, but again, still looking for shorts. So I only look for shorts really this week. Euro USD short, AUD USD short, GP USD short as well, but not looking overly good for that pair. So we're going to wait for a bit more development of these pairs. But yeah, looking for more downside. Nice to get a bit of retracement, and then at the target 0.76, because it looks like the market's having a hard time pushing higher. So 0.76 is the next target for AUD USD. Yeah, David, just a lot of drawing zones, really. That's made me quick. Train your eye to see it. It's not intentional, I didn't train my eye to see it quickly, just, you know, you just do it a lot, so then comes like a reflex really, so you don't really think about it too much, which is kind of a good thing, because you don't want to overthink you know, drawing your technical analysis too much, because then that could create unneeded stress when you take a trade, because you're not trusting your analysis. But yeah, just a lot of drawing zones, so that's why I don't tend to think too much, and just kind of just train my eye to spot these areas. Yeah, we do have news coming soon. I did check yesterday. I think it's for the pound and the US dollar, I believe. Okay, so yeah, we already had the pound early this morning, and US dollar, yes, we do in 2 hours or so, 2 hours 15 at 1:30 GMT. So yeah, might want to watch out for that announcement, people, especially on the low time frames. trading the 4 hour, probably don't need to worry too much, but I think anything below 1H, some of your trades will probably be affected, especially if you're in any USD pairs, so might want to watch out for that at 1:30 GMT. So that's about 2 hours and 15 minutes from now. I'll have a look now. So we've actually got Governor Bailey's speech for GBP in 2 hours, so that is going to affect the pound. So we've got a speech from Governor Bailey, and then for US dollar, we've got retail sales coming out at 1:30. So again, that's high impact as well. And actually, no, we've got a lot more news. I did not see that at 3:30 GMT. So that is 4 hours and 15 minutes from now. We also got another retail sales announcement as well. So there's quite a lot of US dollar news, I'm not gonna lie, coming out today. Main times to focus on is 1:30 high impact and 3:30 high impact, and those are both GMT. I use my FX book to check the news on the economic calendar section. So that's what I use to check the news, but again, you can also use Forex Factory as well. But I've always used my FX book for it. And it's quite good, it's quite reliable as well, explains what the news is about, shows you the impact of it, if it's high impact, medium, low. Normally the ones you should be worrying about high, maybe medium, not too much really, but normally high impact does give the market a push. But yeah, I use my FX book. Yeah, sure, David, just give me 1 second. Yep, so that is the link there. No, I don't have actually any indicator of zones. I do, however, do have not a level, a YouTube video on my channel showing how I draw my zones. So I could give you a link to that video now on the chat, which again just shows you how I draw my zones. Yeah, I'll just give you a few examples as well. So if you want the link to that, just let me know. Yeah, so I'm expecting to see that DXY go up. Yeah, I'm not too sure if it might pull back first a little bit more, maybe halfway, and then move up, but nonetheless I'm expecting to see price go and break for that resistance, push into that level there, which is around 9800, and a break of that into 91,300. So yeah, my bias is firmly to the upside for the DXY. We do have this nice area here, resistance, 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 resistance. So that could be a nice area of support the DXY might want to pull back into to give that higher low and then continue up, which means that your USD might want to retrace a little bit more to see, and then the continuation to the upside. But yeah, if we can break through that resistance, then we probably won't have that pullback into that area. But if it does reject it on this candle, then I can see a test of this area, then the continuation. But this resistance here is where I'm expecting DXY to go, and then if we do have best case scenario, push to 91,300 up there. But yeah, my bias is to the upside for the DXY, and again that's why Euro USD I am looking for those shorts, so you can get a move back into 1.20500, then again at best 1.2 all the way down there. Not at the moment, but I am looking into potentially in the future doing lives with multiple people. So again, get a bit more entertaining, but also share different ideas as well, because I know you guys have your own ideas that is different from mine as well. So it's multiple people sharing ideas, and we get the best opportunity to take the better trades, wherever I might see something and you guys might not see something as well, or might do see something that I don't see. So yeah, could help each other out. So I'm looking to do that in the future for multiple people in the live stream. Okay, you can see what's happening with USD-CAD. So for USD-CAD, again, like I said before, my bias is to the outside for this one. Expecting a move into 1.23, which is this area of supply here. Potentially could break through that, but it looks like USD-CAD after this big dump we had to the downside, it does look like USD-CAD is now finally taking a breather. Looks like it's gone from lower lows, now potentially higher lows. Well, is higher lows, so again, a bit of that bowl shape. So I do think a bit of a reversal here. Not sure if it'd be a bottom, as in we expect to see the market start trending to the upside. It might be a big push up, and then we see a continuation lower. But as of yet, I'm expecting to see a push to the upside there on the daily. You see again a nice bull shape, and now if we go on the 4H as well, we've also broken above that resistance and also got a retest of that as support. So yeah, USD-CAD looks really good for a move to the upside into 1.23. Again, if anyone's looking to trade it, maybe on the lower time frames, because maybe look to enter on some retracement on the lower time frames. But right now, from a higher time frame point of view, 4-hour daily is looking good for a move to the upside. If you can break through this area of supply here, I can see us moving into this area here, which is around 1.24. Previous support now will be term resistance there, so that area could see a bit of a bearish reaction from that. But yeah, USD-CAD looks good for a move to the upside, and also I'm expecting to see a lot more US dollar strength coming into the markets for US dollar. I expect to see a lot of strength come to the markets this week. So again, with that coming to play, DXY looks like we're going to see some strength as well. So it looks like USD-CAD a move to the upside. Like I said before, really nice bull shape here. So again, naturally expecting price to push on and push into this area 1.23 next target. And again, if you break through that, I do expect to see USD-CAD push into this area here, 1.24 previous support, now term resistance. But yeah, again, lower time frames, bias to the upside, daily bias to the upside for USD-CAD. It's about time now after this big dump we had to the downside, because you can see previously we had some really healthy pullbacks, push, pullback, push, pullback, push, pullback, push, pullback. So this here is very overextended. So now we're going to expect to see a deeper retracement now for USD-CAD, and that potentially could even go past 1.24. But yeah, it looks like a good trade there on the daily time frame. I do see USD-CAD pushing to 1.23, and a break of that I do see 1.24 hit as well. Sure, we'll take a look at NZD-USD as well. So NZD-USD, this pair is a little bit sideways, but I can see price falling to the downside. Again, like I said, for a lot of the USD pairs, I do see US dollar strength coming in this week. So that means, again, Euro-USD, AUD-USD, NZD-USD, GBP-USD should be falling to the downside with that US dollar strength. Of course, it does determine as well of the strength of the individual currencies, like pound strength, euro strength. But I do think US dollar strength will outweigh those, so we should be seeing some of those pairs fall, and NZD-USD is included in that. Included in those pairs. So I do see NZD-USD falling to the downside. Again, like I said, I would like to see a bit more retracement for this one, like AUD-USD, but again, it doesn't have to retrace that much. We do have previous support here, time resistance, which again would be a nice place to look to short from. So if it was to push up again, that would be nice to look for shorts, but again, it doesn't have to. If I go on the hourly time frame, you can already see we've already had quite an aggressive move to the downside there. So I potentially think NZD-USD is on its way down now. Would be nice to see maybe a bit of a pullback into this resistance here, bit of a head and shoulders, and then let to take it lower. So again, shoulder, head, shoulder, and then take it lower again, anticipating move into that support, and potentially even a break of that into this key support here, which is 0.71, which I can see NZD-USD falling to, and maybe even further depending how bearish it gets. But yeah, NZD-USD bias to the downside. Again, wouldn't want to enter now unless you're willing to have your stop loss above that high there, because that's the only place it does make sense to put your stop loss. Probably want to pull up, want the market to pull up, so you can have a bit of a tight stop loss and maximize your risk to reward. But yeah, I am seeing more downside for NZD-USD, waiting for a bit of pullback and then look for the continuation lower, back down to 0.71 key level of daily support. Not really, to be fair. Not really. I just try. I just try to focus on getting my best entry, and then get it close to my stop loss to maximize my risk to reward. But yeah, I don't really focusing on my exposure at all, really. But sometimes if I do trade too many of the same currencies at once, like a lot of the US dollars, it can all kind of pile up against you, because again, even though if you have a good risk to reward, again, if the US dollar, say for example, you trade a lot of US dollar pairs, if that does change in strength quite quickly, then you could mess up a lot of your trades and just see a lot of losses, or potentially on the flip side a lot of wins as well. But yeah, I don't really focus too much on that, because I just like to keep it price action based, and just focus on what I'm seeing in the charts. And if I see opportunity, I like to take the opportunity, and then I will take that much. But again, not really that focused on the pairs that I'm trading. Drawdown, I mean, I just respect my stop loss. And again, I'm not in too many trades at the same time. I'm not in any, like max, I'll be in 2 trades at the same time. So yeah, drawdown is not really a problem for me, because again, if you manage your risk correctly, you don't want to be in like 10 trades at once, because then if they're all in drawdown, then yeah, you probably do have a little bit of a problem. But 1 trade in drawdown, 2 trades in drawdown, it shouldn't be too much of a problem if you're managing your risk correctly. And again, if you're trading similar pairs like US dollar as well, if one's in drawdown, most likely the other one will be in drawdown as well. So it's all about just maximizing your risk to reward, keeping the reward high so it doesn't play too much, even if you are in drawdown as well. But yeah, I just focus on price action. If prices hit my stop loss, if I'm incorrect, I'm out of the trade. If it still hasn't hit my stop loss, and my setup can still be correct, then yeah, I don't worry too much about the drawdown, and just await what the market wants to do. Yeah, so you just want to focus on not being in too many trades at the same time at once, because I know they will measure like your overall drawdown. They'll probably say you don't want to be past, I don't know, 3% of the day or something like that. I don't know, maybe 2% or something like that. Yeah, I know they wouldn't like to see if your drawdown past a certain thing of the day, or maybe for the week. So yeah, it's just got to be, I think, maybe dial down your trades, maybe dial down your trades a little bit, and maybe only take another trade if one of them is at break even. So that way you won't be in any drawdown for any trades that you're in previously. But yeah, break even and then take a trade, or just limiting your trades altogether. Yeah, that makes sense. But things like sometimes, I know, because I know with some different prop firms, like some they make sure you only risk 1%. Sometimes they can allow you to risk what you want to risk. But like if you're risking 2% and say you got, 3 trades open and then drawdown, that potentially means you could be, in drawdown between 3 and 6% at one time. So and they might have like a cap at like 3 for the day or something like that. But yeah, also taking a trade in of a particular currency in the same direction, not on multiple trades, will help you as well. Because you take a lot of AUD pairs and then the strength of the AUD pair changes either, against you or for you. You could be in a lot of drawdown quite quickly if that does happen, even for a news event as well, because I know you trade daily time frame, so your drawdown's going to last a lot longer than people on the shorter time frames. And if a news hits and say that AUD sees a lot of strength, if you're in multiple AUD pairs, then you could be in drawdown for some time before that then becomes positive. Yeah, so that makes sense. Again, you probably want to check with the firm you want to join about that, because it might be up to 5% as well. It might be up to 5%, which gives you a bit more room to work with. But yeah, some might be a bit aggressive with 3 or even 2%. So you need to check with the firm you're planning to join, but should be alright with that one. Okay guys, so it's just gone 12 p.m, so I'm going to wrap up the live stream in a second. I'm going to do a quick run of some of the pairs that we looked at before, see how they're getting on, and then yeah, we'll look to end the live stream from there. So I'm going to start with AUD/USD. So this one again, bias is to the downside, expecting more to the downside for AUD/USD. Again, you have price support, term resistance here, nice rejection. So yeah, I'm looking for a move back down into 0.76, 550, kind of this area, that prior low, and a break of that take me into 0.76. But yeah, looking for a bit of retracement first for AUD/USD, because again we didn't see much, so I want to see a bit more retracement, and then we'll look to take this lower back down to those lows unless we get above this trend line and we start creating higher highs, and then I'll probably look to change my bias. But right now, overly bearish on AUD/USD. Similar for EUR/USD as well, looking for sales on that one if you can get a bit of retracement. Had a nice close below the trend line, but again still not overly convinced. I want to see a bit of retracement, maybe hold as resistance, and then look to see if you can get a bit of momentum to the downside and take advantage of that move lower. Again, first target 1.20, 650, and then second 1.2 all the way down there, but bias is to the downside for EUR/USD. And again, looks like we could be getting another lower high there. Now looking for another lower low at that price support, and a break of that will take me to 1.2 into that support there. But yeah, looking for shorts for EUR/USD, which could be happening very soon, so eyes out for that pair. GBP/USD, again expecting a move to the downside for this pair. However, it really had kind of had that move this morning, wasn't in that move and that resistance. Very bearish candle close at 10 a.m. So again, like I said, a bit of retracement and then to take that lower. Again, I do see overall target 1.4, but 1.40400 could also be a valid target where price might reverse. You can see prior low here, also strong area of demand, big move to the upside from this area. Could see a reaction from that area as well. But yeah, bias is to the downside, looking for a move into 1.40400 and a break of that into 1.4. But bias is to the downside for GBP/USD, expecting to see that US dollar strength come into the markets. And the USD as well, looking for a move lower. Again, price is still bearish for me on the 4H. The recency and a nice drop here, so I want to see a bit of retracement and then look to take it lower after that. But yeah, NZD/USD for me, it looks like it's on its way down, so only looking for shorts for NZD/USD from now on, unless we start breaking some key levels of structure like this resistance here. But right now doesn't look like that's happening, so more downside for NZD/USD. And USD CAD as well, more upside for this one. You can see this one is already flying to the upside. Looks like we've got some CAD weakness in there, which is helping out USD CAD to go to the upside. So yeah, USD CAD, I do see price at 1.23 by the end of the week, maybe even 1.24, but again, we need some real bullishness to see that happen. But you can see on the daily we have this big collapse to the downside, so looking for price to retrace that and see some continuation higher. So I do see USD CAD pushing to 1.23 and a break of that into 1.24. Yeah, so exactly, that makes sense there. So again, especially because in the daily time frame, your drawdown will be a little bit longer than everyone else, so that drawdown could prevent you from taking a trade just because it's moving sideways. So that is also an important thing to note there as well. But yeah, people, that is the end of the live stream. Again, I hope you all enjoyed that and found that useful. If you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. That's really helped the channel out. Drop a like as well. If you haven't already, make sure you check out my Telegram channel. Left link to that in the description below. Make sure you go and check that out. But thanks guys for watching. Again, I will be live same time again tomorrow morning, GMT, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. So make sure you're there and check the live stream out. But thanks again for watching, guys. It does mean a lot. I will catch you on the next one.